I'm not finished yet. And you're not finished with me. You're never finished with me.
Taught you that you mean something. My parents taught me the world only makes sense if you force it to.
While Man of Steel did stumble a bit out of the gate, the DCEU still had its launching pad. Fresh off the nearly $700 million blockbuster, Snyder was already working on part 2 of building his universe. The Man of Steel Easter eggs built upon a larger and more connected universe. Batman vs Superman continued this trend by adding prominent members of the Justice League.
Between the divisive reactions from critics, and with movies like The Avengers, The Dark Knight Rises, and Iron Man 3 all achieving the coveted $1 billion mark, it was clear the DC Universe had an uphill battle. And how would the divisive reactions from the critics affect future DC films?
We can't have anyone freak out there, okay? We've got to keep our composure. We've come too far. There's too much to lose. We've got to keep our composure.
You'll believe a man can frown a lot.
Rest easy, Christopher Reeve fans. He's still the best Superman ever, and Margot Kidder is still the #1 Lois.
There's very little humor or joy in this Superman story.
But beyond the horizon, there's still some critics that believe Superman shouldn't be stuck in the past.
Man of Steel is everything you've ever wanted in a Superman movie.
Forget all the Supermen of the past. Like it or not, purist, Man of Steel is the kind of theatrical reboot Superman has needed for a while.
It's realistic in approach and honest in emotion, but also wonderfully fantastical and cinematic. The future is bright for the Man of Tomorrow.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
For some fans, it seemed time to draw a line in the sand. Are you pro DC or pro Marvel? By 2013, the MCU already had 8 movies under its belt.
Shortly after Man of Steel's release, bloggers were already salivating over pitting the two companies against each other, publishing articles like how Marvel unified its movie universe and why that won't be easy for DC. Kevin Feige helped Marvel unite its superhero movies into one interconnected universe. With a Superman and a Batman movie on the way, will Warner Brothers be able to do the same?
Right.
Marvel had carved out its own approach to mass producing comic book movies. On the other side of the parking lot, Zack Snyder was looking at the comic book genre with a little bit more of a deconstructive attitude. Now, with Superman's house in order, what are the logical next steps?
Because I'm gonna take a leg turn from you because some shit's gonna happen up here. But I want to take a second, to come up personally. I know there's been a lot of speculation about what we're doing, and I just wanted to say that, and say from me, come from me, and say that that it is official that we are going to make another Superman movie. Woo! I can say that maybe there's a single element that's in the film, that will be in the film, that we could, that I could help you out with.
Oh shit.
I'm gonna read a little thing, and some of you will recognize it, and it's not, we're not adapting this thing, but it is the thing that will help tell that story.
I want you to remember, Clark, in all the years to come, in all your most private moments, that
want you to remember my hand at your throat. I want you to remember the one man who beat you.
Whoa! What? What? What?
Like, oh, let's do like maybe we'll do a Brainiac movie, or like one of these other. And I was like, do we really want to do another like alien invasion? It's just like a teeny bit. And then as we were talking about it, we talked about like, oh, maybe we'll do it, and then at the end of the movie, you'd see like Bruce Wayne like getting this like shipment of kryptonite in the last scene. Right? That was like how it started, the conversation. And I was like, well, that's cool. That's good. What if? And then we started talking about like, okay, what if Batman was in the movie and he was sort of watching Superman kind of from a distance? And then I was like, well, okay, if we're gonna do that, they need to fight each other. And then once you say it and sort of put it out, you can't take it back.
Well, it's cool because, I mean, for me, it's really a dream come true type of project, because I've always been into the sort of big icon superheroes, and Batman and Superman. I mean, I don't know, after that, what do you do? Just
While Superman struggled, Batman begins his dominance over the comic book genre in the early 90s. Batman was WB's cash cow, greenlighting and fast-tracking as many Batman movies as possible.
First movie, things felt much sharper and more focused. And it just felt like everything got a little softer on the second one. The first one, I felt like I was making a movie. The second one, I felt like I was making a toy commercial.
It was evolving. I mean, I don't think we were publicly saying, okay, we're making another one. We're going straight into the next one. As it turned out, we did pretty much go into the fourth one, the second one for us, almost without a break.
By the time you film these movies and got all the press once they came out, to start one up as soon as we did was really soon, I thought.
It's fun to design all these toys. I call them toys because this particular movie, because Batman Forever had been so successful and brought a lot of people back into the theaters, there was enormous pressure on us to create more inventions in the film that could be turned into toys. I learned a new phrase in my life called toyetic, whether a movie is toyetic or not, and how many toys people can get out of it. Hence a lot of toys in this movie. There was also a great deal of trying to think of exactly the right political words. There was a desire, let's say, from the corporate point of view, that we make as kid-friendly a Batman as possible, because many parents always complain about it being too dark for their children, that kids got too scared.
Sadly, Batman and Robin not only killed the Batman franchise, but also put the nail in the coffin for Superman Lives.
They didn't want to swim for the fences anymore. They had gotten burned on, I guess on Batman Forever maybe, or
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin.
Yeah.
And Tim has always been upset about the fact that the Superman project was doomed by Joel Schumacher,
yes,
who fucked up Tim's own franchise,
yeah,
and then fucked up Tim's Superman movie.
Yes.
After the failure of Batman and Robin, Batman Triumphant was essentially canned, and anything beyond that point was gonna have to be started from scratch. In the early 2000s, Batman Beyond was looking to get a live-action adaptation as well. One of the more entertaining rumors from that failed Batman Beyond production was that Clint Eastwood was gonna play your older Batman. Then we have the very infamous Darren Aronofsky Batman Year One project, which would have had Aronofsky and Frank Miller working side by side on a Year One script. But essentially we ended up getting kind of a modified Year One script in 2005 with Batman Begins. Enter Christopher Nolan. Nolan's grounded and realistic approach brought Batman back from the proverbial bat nipple grave.
I asked for a bigger package. Apparently Chris was tipping the costumer, but I did get a nice ass.
Snyder, WB, and DC began their ambitious plan to expand the DC universe, with executives and Snyder mostly being on the same page about the future of DC films. Hindsight will say otherwise. Despite the internet rumors regarding the DCEU being a reaction to the Man of Steel box office and a studio reaction to the MCU, Zack Snyder mapped out a 5-film arc in the early stages and even included Batman as a part of his original plans.
You're cool. Oh, okay. I get it. You're having an image problem.
Don't be ridiculous. I'm Superman.
Yeah, exactly. You're fucking white bread. You're boring. Look at you in your stupid outfit.
My father gave me this outfit.
And your dad's dead. Get over your dead parents already.
Didn't your parents die?
Man of Steel and BvS storyboard artist Jay Oliva confirms on Twitter, stating Man of Steel was never meant to have a sequel. It was supposed to be chapter 1 of a 5-chapter story, even mentioning it looked like book 2 of Harry Potter. But we'll get back to that 5-arc plan later. Don't forget.
What?
Meet Skeptical Twitter User. Skeptical Twitter User thought he could talk nonsense about the DC Universe. The Skeptical Twitter User was wrong. That's revisionist history. BvS became a sequel after MOS underperformed at the box office.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Jay Oliva, from out of nowhere. How could it be revisionist history if the plan for the following films were already planned before the release of Man of Steel? He even added, "You could bet your ass prior to June there was a plan." Skeptical Twitter User continues to push the narrative that BvS was a reaction to the disappointment of Man of Steel. In response, Oliva states, "Okay, school is in session. Back in April of 2013, I met with Zack, who showed me storyboards of BvS with Batman already in it. There's even concept art of a Batmobile dated April of 2013.
Zack went to Warner Brothers Animation and said, "Hey, I want to do this animated short, and can Jay be involved?" So then they came over to me. They're like, "Zack wants you to work on this and blah blah blah." And I was like, "Of course." And I was in the middle of, I had just started Assault on Arkham, right? And I remember, and it was funny. I mentioned this in one of my Twitter posts when somebody was telling me that Zack hadn't planned on Batman being in Batman v Superman. I remember meeting with Zack about the Superman thing, and he was like, "You want to see something cool?" He always says this. "You want to see something cool?" I'm like, "Sure," right? And then he shows me the storyboards from what was going to be the sequel of Man of Steel, and it was an old Bruce Wayne. And I was like, "Batman's in it?" He's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "All right, man, that's cool." And I told him, I was bummed though. I was like, my face dropped because I was like, "You're storyboarding without me."
You're welcome.
After the memorable San Diego Comic-Con announcement, production began to pick up steam. Beginning in the fall of 2013, Snyder started to fill out his star-studded Justice League, starting with the Dark Knight himself, Ben Affleck as Batman.
He called me up and said, "Do you want to do this?" And I thought, "Well, I'm like 25, man. Are you sure about this?" They said, "Come down, we want to show you what we're doing." And it was incredible. Zack Snyder's directing it. He's this incredible take on it. That's like, obviously, you can't do what Chris and Christian did. Those movies are amazing. And so he wants to do something different, but still in keeping with that. And so I had I thought, this is a brilliant way to do this, and I really know how to hook into this. So we want to show you some of the reactions that past people who've been cast have gotten, like on the internet stuff. Like, I'm a big boy. You know what I mean? I don't need to. I could handle the Emmy snub. Yeah. I can handle anything. So
I'll let you borrow it.
So I went on I said, "Just don't use the internet for a couple of days." And I said, I handle.
I'm there you go. Yeah. So, I'm tough.
Yeah, I'm very tough.
Boston,
I saw the announcement. I look on this thing. I look down the first comment. Yeah. It's like, Ben Affleck's gonna be Batman. The first one just goes, "No." I talked to Zack about it. I was like, "Are you sure?" And he said, "I have this vision. I have this idea for the guy, and you're perfect for it." And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" He's like, at the end of his rope, he's older. He's like a burnout. Appreciate that.
Snyder says Ben provides an interesting counterbalance to Henry's Superman. He has the acting chops to create a layered portrayal of a man who is older and wiser than Clark Kent, and bears the scars of a seasoned crime fighter, but retains the charm that the world sees in billionaire Bruce Wayne. I can't wait to work with him.
Later, along with the official title being deemed Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice in May of 2014, we got our additional casting questions answered. Starting in late 2013 with Gal Gadot being cast as Wonder Woman, early 2014 would bring us the announcements of Ray Fisher as Cyborg and Jason Momoa and Ezra Miller rounding out the league as Aquaman and Flash.
Name came up recently with this Batman Superman stuff.
I get it all the time. It's just a rumor.
Is it just a rumor though?
It's rumors, I swear.
The latest is that I'm going to see you as Aquaman. I'm going to see you as Aquaman in a cameo, and then you're going to pop up in Justice League. Are you promising me, Jason, man to man?
Man to man. You can punch me in the face.
Most aspects of the Man of Steel sequel were rolling. However, there were still some speed bumps along the way. In December of 2013, Batman vs Superman was getting a script rewrite by Oscar-winning Argo writer Chris Terrio. Is there a downside to that?
Additionally, fans would see the film release date get moved not once, but twice. In March of 2014, it was announced the film would be moved from 2015 to 2016. Later, to avoid a direct head-to-head with Marvel, WB once again moved the release date to March 25th, 2016. With the release being pushed back to 2016, the WB marketing team had the unenviable task to maintain hype for an additional year. It was nearly 3 years from the release of Man of Steel to the long-awaited release of Batman v Superman.
Warner Brothers CEO Kevin Tsujihara stated it was a tough decision at the time because it was going to create a hole in 2015, but it was absolutely the right decision for the franchise, for DC and the movie. Having seen the movie multiple times and again last night, I'm extremely confident it was the right decision to make the movie better. And it's so important for the studio to get the foundation right on DC.
I don't even know what that means. We got to get it right. We didn't get it right, but we're going to work on trying to get it right. So next time, we got to get it right.
The marketing campaign would begin with an epic image of Ben Affleck's muscle-bound Batman in front of the new Batmobile. In July of 2014, our first official look at Wonder Woman and Batman vs Superman. Snyder would also drop the infamous Unite the Seven poster.
Let's talk about trailers. Teasers? Well, back in my day, a teaser was 30 seconds. Now, they're at least a minute and a half. But I digress.
I got bronchitis. Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
Batman vs Superman had some of the most memorable trailers, some leaving you in awe, while others... While it is unofficial and there has never been an HD release, San Diego Comic-Con 2014 gave us our first sneak peek of the world's finest.
Our first official teaser would come in April of 2015. Again, this teaser is 2 minutes long. How is that not a trailer? But again, I digress. Just like the teaser for Man of Steel, Snyder again took the simplistic approach. The chants of "Go Home" echoing, music that makes the hair stand up on your ass. And the final shot with an epic stare down between the Dark Knight and the last son of Krypton.
Finally, the first official trailer would drop at San Diego Comic-Con that same year. The hype for the DCEU hit critical mass in 2015. Both trailers for Batman vs Superman and Suicide Squad would change the way many studios would approach Comic-Con exclusives. Trailers and teasers would no longer be solely San Diego Comic-Con exclusive due to bootleg recordings flooding and breaking the internet.
I'm just gonna hurt you. Really, really bad.
And then the most debated trailer came 3 months before the theatrical release. First off, speculation of Doomsday being in the movie was part of the rumor mill from very early on. WB and DC have been wanting to introduce a live adaptation of this character since his inception in Superman Man of Steel issue number 18. That being said, the first 2 minutes of the trailer appears to play out like any other trailer. Hints of major story beats, better look at the characters, and the action. But at the 2-minute and 7-second mark, the trailer reveals 2 of the most epic moments, Doomsday and Wonder Woman's mind-blowing entrance.
Those motherfuckers!
Aside from the aforementioned leaks, this trailer showed us a Robin death Easter egg, better fit for the movie. It outlines the story almost to a T. Batman hates Superman, Superman is skeptical of Batman, they duke it out over their differences, Lex gets pissed, even using the line, "If man won't kill God, the devil will do it." And then our first look of Doomsday, coupled with the Trinity team up. All of that aside, for longtime comic book fans, the biggest spoiler came from the Doomsday reveal. It was almost guaranteed at this point, Superman would die in Batman vs. Superman. I personally grew up reading the Death of Superman graphic novel and was first introduced to the death story arc in the Death and Life of Superman paperback novel. In my humble opinion, this historical moment would have been better left for the first watch of the film and not in a trailer.
This trailer botch was so significant that it actually prompted journalists to ask Snyder about it. In an article, it says Snyder does want the audience to begin thinking of DC superhero brand as macro terms. Snyder says, "To us, it really made sense to give Doomsday to the audience now. I really wanted to make the audience a promise that though I'm super excited and happy and fulfilled by the conflict of Batman and Superman, there's also a bigger world to start to think about."
Snyder does admit that he and Warner Brothers wrestled with just how much to reveal to fans with 2 months of pre-release buzz. Snyder says, "We had a long conversation about just taking ownership of that, of giving it to the audience in a controlled way that I felt was consistent with the escalation of the campaign."
Boy, that escalated quickly.
The fourth and final trailer would be released 1 month before the film's debut, which showed off a large chunk of the warehouse fight. This again feels like another missed opportunity by the DC marketing team to leave some surprises for the film, and probably one of the oddest choices for music.
That power can be innocent.
From April of 2015 all the way to the release of Batman vs. Superman in 2016, we had 3 full-length trailers and a 2-minute teaser, with the comments by Snyder saying him and WB wrestled over surprise reveals. Was this a panic move by the studio, or was the 3-year marketing hype an impossible feat to maintain?
Procedure, everyone. What's the procedure?
Stay calm!
With 3 years to speculate, the rumor mill definitely went the fuck it route. Cameos from Hal Jordan, Shazam, and the Joker, Jenna Malone playing Carrie Kelly or Barbara Gordon, Scoot McNairy playing Flash or Jimmy Olsen.
You dodged a bullet, Morty.
Snyder even responded to the Batman vs. Superman rumors out there, and he's impressed. Almost. Snyder says it's funny because every now and then someone will touch on something that's kind of true, but the next thing they say makes me realize that they took a wild guess. They'll say something and I'll say, oh snap, they must have seen the script. And then they'll say, and this happens. And then I'll go, they have no idea what they are talking about.
90% of the time, I have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about.
Remember that line in the sand we were talking about earlier? Get ready. This is a much deeper dive into that. In 2015, Clarence had some opinions regarding Man of Steel.
What was the last good DC movie you saw? Exactly, Marvel.
I was gonna say Man of Steel. I love Man of Steel.
You're a banana.
No, I love Man of Steel.
You're a banana.
I fucking love the movie.
You should just email everybody you know and ask them what they thought about it.
Oh, I know a lot of people don't care for it. Wait, I know that, but Hans Zimmer's score, the opening 20 minutes is fucking amazing on Krypton.
But there's another 3 hours of movie after that.
I will defend that movie forever.
So you're saying it should have been a short?
I'm saying to you that I could watch that movie on loop. I love it so much.
Wow.
I love it.
That scares me.
Right,
that
I understand.
You are reviewing movies.
Right, I don't review movies anymore.
Oh, good. Woo! Good save. We're saved. All right.
By the way, I mean, I love the Marvel Universe and Civil War. I can't wait for it.
No. Don't say it's good. Because that means, if you say it's good, that means it's awful. You have awful takes.
America 3 is going to go up against Batman and Superman. You may have heard.
You know, when two cars are speeding at each other, one of them has got to veer out of the way at some point. So.
Hell yeah. Put it out there, yo. Put it out there, baby. Go ahead. Tell them, man.
You know, I can see where Kevin said, well, I'm not moving off that day.
Boom.
So.
Yup,
That's right.
deal with that. In other words, punks step up to get beat down. Know about that.
Perception of the comic book movie genre can go both ways, like Zack Snyder talking about the flavor of the week. And talking about Batman vs. Superman, Snyder says, it goes to the mythological nature of the movies that we're making. I feel like he's right, but I feel like Batman and Superman are transcendent of superhero movies in a way, because they're Batman and Superman. They're not just like the flavor of the week, Ant-Man. Not to be mean, but whatever it is, what is the next blank man?
Slap me around and call me Susan.
Although he has since apologized for it in 2016, David Ayer got caught up in the comic book movie wars post BvS, yelling,
Fuck Marvel!
Even to this day, in Ayer's Twitter feed, people are still rehashing this exact moment. The funny part of this, some might fail to realize that the inception of Batman vs. Superman inspired Joe and Anthony Russo to deconstruct the MCU in Captain America: Civil War. In talking about their pitch, the Russo brothers say, the only thing that seemed interesting to us was to deconstruct the Marvel Universe, because where else can we go at this point? There have been 11 or 12 movies so far, all with a fairly traditional structure. Our pitch to them was, people will tell you they love chocolate ice cream until you give it to them 5 days a week. It's time to give them some rainbow sherbet. Kevin Feige is a maverick, and he's very sensitive to how people are responding to this content. He said he thought we might be right. And after they announced Batman vs. Superman, he said, you guys are absolutely right. We needed to do something challenging with the material, or we were going to start to lose the audience.
Well. How the turntables.
Though fans of Marvel and DC enjoy engaging in flame wars to determine which one is better, the argument can be made that the two franchises need each other to continue to thrive. As the old saying goes, competition breeds success, and having a direct rival to measure up against can only help in the long run.
Fuck you!
One of, if not the biggest red flag, comes 3 weeks to the release of Batman vs. Superman, a R-rated version with 30 additional minutes, and would be called the Ultimate Edition. It would be released on home media immediately after the theatrical run ended. Snyder is no stranger to director cuts, but to have it announced before the movie was even released and give some kind of PR spin to explain the decision should have been an eye-opening moment for fans and our first true peek at the dissension between Snyder and the studio. Just listen to the conflicting answers he gives when talking about the Ultimate Edition.
You've announced that on home video there's going to be an extended cut coming. Do you consider that the director's cut, an extended cut?
We call it the ultimate cut because it really, to me, it's the, it's a deeper dive into that world, and I think it really, there's storylines in there that get fleshed out by the longer version.
All right, so without further ado, we'll show this ultimate cut. They call it the ultimate cut because, we couldn't call it the director's cut because everyone was like, we don't want people to think that that's not your. So,
BvS hit theaters, and it was universally loved by fans and critics, and there was absolutely no controversy.
we really have to fucking talk about this?
Yes, it's a significant part of the film. Stop your bitching.
But no one cares anymore. They already made up their minds. Fine, hit play.
Why did you say that name?
Find him! Save Martha!
Yeah, why did you say that name? Save Martha, yada yada, go fuck.
After almost 5 years, if you think Superman and Batman become best friends because their moms have the same name, bless your heart. If you did understand the gravity of the scene but thought it was executed poorly, there's nothing we can say to change your mind. Clark is a journalist and knows Batman's past, and Bruce having PTSD dialed up to 11, bada boom, El Martha.
If you force it to. Yeah, which I think sums up sort of a philosophical, like, he's come to this, all the way to this notion that, like, he can only live in a world that he forces into a morality that he can justify. But in the end, he's about to discover that, like, you know, it doesn't necessarily, his actions can easily go too far, and that he can become what he observes and that what he hates, you know, which the very thing he's fighting against. In this sequence, like, you know, he's basically turned into the murderer of his parents in a way, you know, because, like, he's allowing them to kill Martha. So, like, is he responsible for the death of Martha? Has he become basically 100% the thing that he blinded by his hatred, he's become the thing he hates. But he's come to the crux of his conflict now.
What you're doing is senseless revenge, and it's feeding a fruitless cycle of death. You must end this cycle once and for all.
And if that doesn't resonate with you, then...
You know, that's just like, your opinion, man.
A summary of BvS will have to wait until part 3. Breaking down a butchered theatrical cut isn't worth it, but that still doesn't mean we can't talk about the other controversial moments that have been beaten to death for the past 5 years.
Batman does not kill. Batman not killing is what makes him so compelling. If he kills criminals, there is no moral conflict. He is no better than the Punisher, Wolverine, or any other dark, edgy hero.
I have one rule.
Oh, then that's the rule you'll have to break.
But not with these. These are loud and clumsy. These are the weapons of cowards.
All I've ever wanted to do is kill him. A day doesn't go by when I don't think about subjecting him to every horrendous torture he's dealt out to others, and then end him. But if I do that, if I allow myself to go down into that place, I'll never come back.
All right. That's the Batman doesn't kill starter kit, right? Now that we got that out of the way, let's come back to reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Batman does kill. Unlike all those other adaptations, Snyder isn't ignoring his moral lapse. What Snyder is doing is asking the audience, what if Batman did cross that line? Could he redeem himself?
I failed him in life. I won't fail him in death.
Affleck doesn't kill for the sake of shock value. Throughout the movie, we're shown Bruce's downward spiral into madness, abusing alcohol, sex, and pills. The Batman persona consuming his life.
Regardless, I'll need to put a leash in this house, and I'm gonna need the suit.
The Bat interrogated 6 people and came away with nothing. It was Bruce Wayne that got the information.
The brutal death of the boy Wonder, a beaten and bloody Dick Grayson clinging to life. We're briefly shown a Robin suit in the Batcave, and the dialogue guides us through the traumatic life that this Batman has experienced. this Batman is vastly different than anything we've seen before.
New rules.
We're criminals, Alfred. We've always been criminals. Nothing's changed.
Yes, it has, sir. Everything's changed.
That son of a bitch brought the war to us 2 years ago. He has the power to wipe out the entire human race, and if we believe there's even a 1% chance that he is our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty. 20 years in Gotham, Alfred. We've seen what promises are worth. How many good guys are left?
20 years of fighting criminals amounts to nothing.
Criminals are like weeds, Alfred. Pull one up, another grows in its place.
One of the things that I liked about this character was that he was kind of a fighter in the 12th round, you know, that he was a guy at the, you know, maybe a little bit waiting for to be saved by the bell, and that he had been through the ringer. And usually when we see these heroes, they're in their origins, discovering their powers, you know, just taking on the world. They're typically, you know, in their 20s and they're just starting out. And so it's an interesting thing to start almost at the end of a career, you know, and look back, and the audience has seen my character's backstory, in effect, because they've seen all these movies and they know what Batman's kind of done during all this time.
I love you.
No. No, Clark, you can't.
This is my world.
No, Clark, don't.
You are my world.
Being comic book fans and seeing Doomsday in the trailer made this moment somewhat predictable, but at the same time, the execution of this scene still pulled at those crusty heartstrings. But with every big swing taken in a mainstream franchise, armchair directors are always lurking. One annoying criticism of this final battle is, why not have Wonder Woman or Batman use the spear?
Not only does Clark look at Doomsday as something from his world,
this thing is from another world. My world.
I've killed things from other worlds before.
indirectly, Kal is responsible for what Lex has unleashed on this world, activating the scout ship which brings Zod and the other Kryptonians to Earth. His failure to protect the people of Metropolis haunts him. This truly is his burden to bear. Just to simply pass that burden onto another hero doesn't sound very Superman to us. Many say Snyder doesn't understand Superman's morality, but in the same breath say Clark's sacrifice was pointless.
That the lines could get blurred for normal humans. This kind of like, you know, this kind of like guy floating up in the sky. Like, how do you not rely on him for to solve all our problems? And that's not what he wants. That's not his thing. He's just trying to, you know, he's a kid from Kansas, just trying to do the right thing.
Possibly the most frustrating complaint about Superman's death was, how could they kill Superman in the second movie in the universe? DC hasn't earned this. This is frustrating from multiple aspects. Not only from the short-sighted outlook by critics and fans, but now with hindsight, how poorly the studio handled it. This is fucking Superman, and you're telling me you need multiple movies to care about his death? Characters like Batman, Superman, and Spider-Man transcend pop culture. Again, going back to that line in the sand, fans and critics would see the MCU playbook as the irrefutable, uncontested, unmistakable, unequivocal, unchallenged way to make a cinematic universe. Yes, the MCU formula is a rousing success, but even the Russo brothers recognized this flaw in how some of the Marvel movies were basically chocolate ice cream over and over again.
You have to get past the Avengers and Marvel shit at some point, okay? Other people make movies.
An unknown aspect at the time was that Snyder and DC did have their own plan with a very comic book approach to this cinematic universe.
It implies a bigger universe, or it implies these dominoes are falling, you know, as we go forward. You know, it was a 5-movie arc, and as the dominoes fall as you go, you're ended up with the consequence, and so the world is rebuilt again each time the movies continue. So.
And when I say a very comic book approach, I'm talking about a 4 to 7 issue comic book run.
The inspiration for Batman vs. Superman, Frank Miller's Dark Knight Returns, was only a 4-issue miniseries.
JLA Tower of Babel had only a 4-issue run. Kingdom Come is a 4-issue comic book miniseries, and even Marvel's Civil War ran only 7 issues.
One of the things, I always say is that, like, the thing I think that, like, a lot of fans need to think about in regard to how different directors approach Batman and or these sort of extended universes, you have to think about it like it's just a run,
Yeah.
It's just a run.
Like a comic book, like a graphic novel.
Comic book run.
Yeah.
Like if I had done a run of the same story, of Man of Steel, BvS, and Justice League,
Yeah.
it would be way less controversial. You know what I mean? Than
Yeah.
because you'd just be like, oh, this comic book writer took this wanted to take this take.
Unfortunately for fans, no one outside of the people working on the project knew about this fine film arc. Not till April of 2018 when storyboard artist Jay Oliva mentioned it on Twitter. In October of 2014, Warner Bros. CEO Kevin Tsujihara revealed a planned film slate for DC Comics based properties, which included at least 10 films spread through 2020. This surprisingly at the time did not include new standalone Superman or Batman movies. Why, you ask? At the core of the fine film arc, Superman.
This might have been ultimately one of the biggest downfalls of the DCEU, not clearly marketing their plans to their fan base and not being on the same page. We can talk what ifs all day long, but having a distinctly defined 5-film arc may have changed the perception of what the DCEU goals were instead of endlessly being compared to the MCU. There's no way of knowing if this would have changed certain critiques directed towards the film.
What I was going to say is that, like, look, when this movie came out, understand that we had written, Chris Terry and I had finished the script for Justice League before this movie came out, right? So that script was done. Movie came out, and some people didn't like the movie. A vocal minority. Because the studio was like, that's crazy. And we were so insecure at the time after this movie came out, we were just like, I guess it is crazy. Like, we're fucking nuts. Like, what are we, there's gonna be mass hysteria in the streets if we film this.
While the studio's lack of transparency and commitment to this 5-film arc is unfortunate, the shortage of patience and foresight by fans and critics would ultimately change the trajectory of the DCEU. For WB executives, this would cause a knee-jerk reaction so bad, it would give General Zod whiplash.
For us, longtime DC comic book fans, the iconic moment of Superman's death is something you will never forget. In BvS, while Cal's death still holds weight, it does lose some of the comic book feel. The backlash to the destruction in the final battle of Man of Steel did inherently affect Batman vs. Superman. Man of Steel and BvS storyboard artist Jay Oliva would elaborate on how the critics shaped the final battle in BvS.
Films are hostage to the whims of the critics and bloggers. Doesn't sound right to have an artist bow down to the critic. The artist should create, the critic critique. One follows the other, not the other way around.
Zack would have tried to mirror Superman's death from the comics by having him die in the middle of Metropolis surrounded by the people he saved.
You get enough people saying it, it becomes the gospel truth all of a sudden. So now you get movies trying to please critics and bloggers and not the public.
Brother, this is important
It's
for all the
not-
people that are like, why?
Yeah,
This matters.
It's real consequence because we're used to seeing all these superhero movies and all this. And look, if even, and not to say, not to compare, but if you look at Avengers, they like trash New York City and no one even mentions the fact that like there's thousands of people dying in there, And I feel like for me, it is about, that's why there's like, it's heavy at the end of the movie. There's like sadness to the end of the movie. Like it's not just fun to crash around in a city, that there's a human price. And I think that's the thing that weighs on Superman.
This would give us clunky and pandering dialogue.
Thankfully, the
workday is over in the downtown core, it's nearly empty.
Strikers Island, east of Metropolis.
That's uninhabited.
Why did you bring him back to the city?
The port is abandoned. There's a weapon here that can kill it.
These criticisms would even affect movies outside of the DC universe.
Alle Passagiere müssen den Flughafen sofort evakuieren.
We're evacuating the airport. Start.
One can only wonder what the studio will do after the criticisms of Batman vs. Superman. Oh wait, we already know? They did what?
What's the best thing about Planet Earth?
Shit! I hadn't had coffee yet. Don't ever do that again.
Hindsight is a double-edged sword. It affords us clarification and frustration. All in all, the hype leading up to Batman vs. Superman was one hell of a roller coaster. While the backlash to BvS would turn that line in the sand into your doomsday from hell, there's no denying the impact in which this movie has had, good or bad. This movie is forever etched in the zeitgeist of comic book movie history. While some hold it as one of the greatest of all time, others wish it never existed. The debate in 2016 that has raged on even 5 years later, ultimately forever changed the course of the DC universe.
The director of Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice, Zack Snyder, once said, "I didn't follow anyone's path. The truth is, there is no one path. There's just the way you do things."
Let's face it, the two biggest names in superhero-dom. This is the sort of alpha and omega of this world.
It's going to be quite the event, I believe. And I'm excited.